So Carolyn said that she wants to move out of the tiny house up here. As you know, we live in a tiny house. I built that for her, what, 2 years ago? 3 years ago? 16 by 12 feet with a 10-foot by 12-foot porch. Originally, when we built it, we had plans of making a loft up in the attic. That would give us more storage area, possibly put a bed up there if we had a visitor. But we just never got around to it. Didn't really need the storage area, never really thought that we'd ever have visitors. So a few weeks ago, I went up there to get something out, I forget what it was, and I noticed that moisture had been accumulating up there because I didn't design it to have any airflow. I had to modify it, and I showed you that I put some vents up here in the both the north and the south wall here, these white vents. And then I cut holes in this board here, so now it has pretty good airflow. I went up there a few days ago, I can't remember, maybe a week ago, 2 weeks ago, and it had dried out significantly. Still a couple areas that were damp, but as wet as it was, it had done much better. Once it completely dries out, I got some mold spray, industrial stuff, and I'll spray that up there. And then this summer, I'll heat it up real hot up there. I forget what mold dies at, 140 degrees, 150 degrees. I'll Google it again, doesn't really matter for the context of this video. And then I'll put a little space heater up there in the summer. Well, the attic will get almost up to temperature on its own because of the heat of the summer, plus the space heater, and that'll kill any mold up there. I didn't see any mold, but you never know, just in case. I already have a problem with mold. I have a mold allergy. It was mold poisoning, actually. We never really made any space up there. Well, now that I've cut holes in it, it's not like I could really do anything to modify it now. I had to close those holes up. So, you know, the place is just too small. She's looking to expand. I've been trying to beat my head on what we could do, you know, close in the porch, but then she doesn't want to close in the porch because she cooks out there. She doesn't want to bring the stove inside because it's a small house and the smells and all that would accumulate in there. Possibly some carbon monoxide. We'd have to put in a hood vent, and it would just be more than what she wants. And also it would take away more space. Well, then the other day, Dad called and said he wanted to come up this spring. Now, he was supposed to come up last spring, but I forget what happened and he couldn't come up. But regardless, he wants to come up this spring. Well, the problem is when he gets here, of course, he'd have to go in a hotel room if he wants to stay the night, which he would probably have to stay the night. And that's pretty rude, you know, send someone off to a hotel room and come back tomorrow. Well, I know Dad wouldn't mind. I mean, heck, if it's warm enough, I could throw a tent out. I mean, he's even said that, just throw a tent out, I could sleep in the tent. If he wanted to shower, for example, it probably would be more convenient if we left the house so he could take a shower. Probably feeling uncomfortable because you just asked the homeowners to leave the house while you got a shower. Now, I have a daughter, lives in Iowa. She's married. You know, she's never come down to visit yet since we've built this little tiny house. It could happen one day that she'd want to come down and visit, see the place. Of course, we live in a pretty resort area. It's kind of a vacation spot around here. It's really beautiful, so why wouldn't you want to come and visit? Go see some of the sights. Now, Carolyn has 2 sons. They may want to come visit, and one of them has actually implied that he'd like to or might, or if the situation came about. Now, they live here in Missouri, so it wouldn't be too bad. It'd be a several-hour drive, 2 or 3 hour drive to get here and then go back. But it would be feasible if they wanted to come out and visit, for them to visit for the day, have a barbecue, and then go back home. But it would be nice if some place for them to sleep. Not really sure how we were going to handle this. Well, then we got to thinking, well, we got plenty of property, and I've always talked about getting a Home Depot shed. It would be kind of nice to get a Home Depot shed because we could use it as storage. But then I would have to do a lot of work to it. We'd have to fix up the inside because none of it's insulated. It doesn't have drywall or anything, so that would be quite expensive. So you go get a Home Depot shed, and let's just say you spent, I don't know, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 on that. That'd be quite the price tag. Plus, then you'd have to fix it up. The problem with the Home Depot shed, it doesn't have any utilities. So it would be like building a tiny house again. It really would, other than having to build the structure itself. I would have to develop a water system and a sewage system and a heating system and all of it. I'd have to get it electric, and it would be quite the chore. Between the price tag and the chore of trying to get all that hooked up, it just didn't seem feasible or anything that I would want to do or she wanted to do. You know, we don't like spending money. So back to the drawing board, what are we going to do if somebody wanted to come visit? I mean, a lot of people have spare rooms that they can, you know, offer someone who comes and visits. Now, I can't remember any time in my life where anybody came over for an overnight visit. We live pretty far away now. It used to be we were pretty close to family, but Dad lives all the way down in Florida. Mom lives way up north Missouri. Her kids live over in St. Louis. My kid lives up in Iowa. If you're going to come visit, it's going to be an extended stay. We're not type of people that enjoy company too much. People wear out their welcome pretty quickly with us. So it's never been anything to consider until Dad and her son started indicating that they may come out and visit. This morning we came up with an idea. Carolyn says, why don't we get a camper and just park it on the property? And most of the time it wouldn't even be noticeable. And so we could actually use that as more storage. You know, whatever storage area, crooks and crannies, we could put things into it. I know she's big on storage. What I don't understand too much is we don't have a lot of stuff to store. We don't argue. I want to be clear about this. We do not argue. So when I say anything like this, don't think that we're bickering or anything. It's just discussions. My thought is if we have more storage, then it's just going to be a spot where we just collect more stuff. If we put our canned goods in it, it would still need heat all the time. We'd have to heat it because it would freeze in the winter. It's not like we could put the canned goods out there. Somebody's gonna say, well, why didn't you just convert your old truck camper into a place like that? Well, two reasons. One, we needed a shed. We needed a place to be able to put straw for the chickens and food, and we just needed a shed. So the camper, the truck camper, seemed like a logical place to do that at. Eventually, I'll be able to get my lawnmower up underneath the overhang, get it out from underneath the tarp. And the second reason is it is really tiny. I mean, this thing is tiny, tiny small. It was built for a 4-cylinder pickup truck for me and Carolyn to travel around in for a couple of years. And it served its purpose. But I mean, the bed's not even big enough really for 2 people. We got in there and we made do. But if you wanted to take a shower in that, oh, that was terrible. It was a tiny space to take a shower in there. Most of the time, what we would do is hang a tarp around the tailgate. We could stand on the tailgate, and kind of in between the camper and the tailgate, and we could take a shower there. But it would be too small for a guest. That would be rude, I think, put them in there. But if we got a camper, we could get a small one. It doesn't have to be real big. I mean, I remember these old, what they call Scotty campers. I don't know if anybody remembers the size of those, but those were really nice. And that would be perfect. It would have a nice shower in it, and a table, and a bed. I remember my aunt took me and my cousin camping one time, and she had a little Scotty. Now, to me, it was pretty huge, but I was pretty small. That would be a perfect size in my mind from what I remember of it. But it doesn't have to be huge. They sell campers now. They only require 2 wheels, not 4. They're not that big. If we could find a used one like that, that would be perfect. And there's several benefits to this. One, we could actually get water to it. I could fill up the water tank on the camper by the well. So right now, our tiny house has a 275-gallon IBC tank. It would be no different than what we're doing with our house. Then we use an RV pump. Our house is basically an RV that looks like a house and not an RV. Then we pump the water with an RV pump into the house through a water heater, an on-demand water heater. So if we had a camper, I would get away from a little water heater. Those things are so tiny. You can take a 2-second shower and you're out of hot water. So I would put in a on-demand water heater just like we have in the house. The RV pump could pump water into the camper just like we do at the house. Everything's there. I don't have to modify anything. All I gotta do is just park it and let it go. Now, as far as electric, we have 2 options. We could probably hook it up to the solar panels, and for a visit, that wouldn't be too bad. Figure for a visit, people aren't going to have a bunch of refrigerated items that they're going to need to put in a refrigerator. If they're going to eat, they'll probably eat at the tiny house on the back porch when they're visiting barbecue. So we have all the food, so our house would be able to run the freezer. But if they did have something they wanted to refrigerate, instead of running it off electric, those campers have a propane refrigerator also. You can buy them like 3-way. There's AC, DC, and a propane refrigerator. It's a 3-way refrigerator. I think most of them have that. So we just switch it over to propane. That would keep things cool enough. It's not like they're gonna have meat items or anything. Maybe a soda or something is what they want to keep cool. And then we can just run out of propane. And we have, what, 10 propane canisters, 20-pound tanks? If they needed some real electric, let's say it's summertime and they needed to run an air conditioner. Now, Carolyn and I don't have an air conditioner, but down here, the sun's gonna be pretty bright on them. The sun comes up from over here and then lands on the other side, and the evening sun is just gonna blast them from this point. So you might need an air conditioner. Well, we could buy one of those little air conditioners. I actually have an air conditioner on the old truck camper. One of those little one-rooms, I think they're 5,000 BTU air conditioners. We could put that in the camper like this one here. And I have ran this off the solar panels, but we wouldn't be able to do it unless I got a lot more solar panels for an extra building. We'd have to have that freezer running up at our house, and then that would be too much. So we could get the little generator that I have. We have 2 of them. And we could run that air conditioner pretty easily. I would go ahead and get another generator. We've been talking about it anyways. That old one, the other day I told you, it's on its last legs. It'd be $500, and it's not like we can't use it. We may eventually just use it, but if it was summertime, they could have air conditioner running off that generator. Now the thing is that generator running an air conditioner runs about 11 hours. So you only have to fill it up maybe twice a day for gasoline, which is still cheaper than a hotel room. We have talked about what if they want to come down this time of the year where it's a little bit cooler. How are we going to heat it? Well, we could get a buddy heater, but that does use quite a bit of propane. However, they do make these camping wood stoves, and they're not that expensive. I looked at them before, maybe under $200, and we wouldn't have to worry about dry firewood and all that. We could come out here and pick up sticks. Of course, we have plenty of firewood. We could pick up sticks, throw it in there. That would keep them warm. So I was joking with Carolyn, and I said, you just want this camper so you don't have to live in here with me. And she said, yeah, that's what my plan is, to move out, live in that camper. And then I got to thinking, well, why would she want to move out? She just make me move into the camper. She gets a nice house. So if you'll click this up next box, take you to a video where I was talking about the tiny house. I actually did a tour. So I hope I can inspire you to think outside the box so you can live your dreams. Thanks for watching.